Hello, and welcome back to Courage to Thrive, the Earth Activation Program. My name is Alana Heim, and I am your guide, and we are covering video 2 today, which is all about the Gate 48. So go ahead and make sure that you have your chart, so that way, as I'm going through the material, you can see if you have the Gate 48 consistently or inconsistently defined. You can also learn a little bit more about the other side of the talent channel, which is the Gate 16. And we're also going to talk a little bit about the Gate 21 because that is the energy paired with the Gate 48. So today, the Gate 48, this is this higher expression, the courage of wisdom. And as you know, we're just moving around the spleen over the next 7 weeks. We're in this program together for 8 weeks, but during the next 7 weeks, we're going to be moving through each of these splenic courage gates, as well as 3 additional knowing gates. So the electromagnetic, what is that? That's the other side of the channel. So since we're focusing on the spleen and all of the energies of the gates popping off of this particular splenic center here, I have it just color-coded or denoted a little differently so you can see that consciously we're going to be moving through the spleen. And I just colored it red unconscious just for graphic purposes for you to get an idea of the other side of the channel. For the Gate 48, this is the Gate 16 coming off the top here of the throat and moving down this logical channel to connect with the Gate 48. And this is the energy of enthusiasm, which is really, this excitement that you can have. And this channel that we're looking at is the channel of talent. So we're going to talk about these aspects and move right into the energies. So you're going to notice that we're in some different energies than we were last time we met. The Gate 48 is now being activated by the Earth. And this is a totally different energy, although it still is coming through the same circuitry that we were just in with the 18. So that's pretty cool. We're going to talk a little bit more about the 21. The other piece, just for you to recognize, yes, some of these planets are constantly moving, and we're going to see some different interactions and things throughout the program. But you're going to notice that the nodes have shifted. So we were in the Gate 52 and the Gate 58, and now we're in the Gate 15 and the Gate 10. So this is going to open up some huge possibilities because both of these particular gates are coming off the identity center. So we've got the Gate 15 here, which has to do with the same circuitry of the 48. This is a logical energy. And so there is a love of humanity here. This is going to be huge, right? We're in this time right now where many of us are quarantined or are isolated in some capacity. So to really open us up to have more compassion and to connect in this deeper way, we've also got the Gate 10, another identity energy, which is going to be hooking up for us in the following week when the Gate 57 transits. So we're going to get some new channel energy, the spleen to the identity. Maybe that's new for you. It will be new for me. The 10 is this gate of self-love. So these are really, really powerful energies that we're going to be feeling. And these are going to be here for a while. I didn't quite look to see how long they're transiting, but we're going to be with these nodes for a little bit, and they're going to help us in a really powerful way. So that's exciting. So again, if you're with me in the live coaching program, then you know this is when we meet. And that is the reason that I went ahead and put this particular time and date stamp on this this transit, just to pull the information. So let's dive in. The Gate 48. Oh, there's so much really, really good information and insight into the energies that are coming up for everybody right now, right? Last week, lots of big healing around the Gate 18 coming up through this logical channel. So as of 10:51 a.m. Pacific time today on March 29th, we've got this energy now hitting us. And this continues through April 4th. So we've got a little bit of a run here to play with this energy, to dive into it. I've already mentioned that it is part of logic or understanding and this whole part of the circuitry. It is the third gate within the house of Libra. However, right now, because it's being activated by the earth, we're seeing this energy occurring during Aries. So lots of action, right? For us to start to move into action, which is very interesting when you think about the 48. This is an energy that doesn't have any motorized capacity. This usually falls short to be able to take action. Hence why this energy sometimes gets stuck, right? It wants to move forward, but it just can't quite leap and get going. And that's potentially because there is no energy to get the 48 moving. And that's okay. So there is a sense of taste that can kind of come through this particular gate. And I know I mentioned before, and we're going to still have these same resiliency keys of courage and self-trust. When we look at the Chinese I Ching, they call this gate ding, and this is the well. So this upper trigram piece represents water, and the lower trigram represents wind. So it's like we have wind below and water above. And the well, they call it this because there is such depth when we're looking at this particular hexagram. And the well runs so deep and it flows from waters of this stream that is ultimately infinite. And we tend to want to think about how we just have this bucket that can go down into the well and pull from the well. And really, they almost say you don't even necessarily need the bucket, just untie it, let it go. There's just this inexhaustible source of this stream that you can tap into that is always there. And I want you to recognize that as really the story for how this energy works within you and how it feeds and supplies this infinite abundance of knowledge and wisdom, even for the collective. Because with the collective energy, this is a big part of what we're all working with right now. We are noticing that we've got some systems that need repair. And this all plays into it. So let's talk really quickly about this lower expression, this fear of inadequacy. That runs deep. And when you think of the well, this fear runs so deep that we sometimes fear it as the void. And if you listen to Karen Curry Parker, she's been talking about the void. And the void is really this space where we were moving along and everything was great, and boom, change happens. And now there can be confusion. We can feel this sense of being lost, or all kinds of emotions can overtake. And sometimes it leads us to feel stuck. And we don't know which way to go. And we don't know how to expand. We just know everything's different. And that is completely where we are as a race of people, humanity itself. And we really want to move towards being one. And that's truly our goal for humanity, is for us to recognize that we are connected. We are one. And all of this virus and isolation and everything that's happening is helping us. It's so powerful. But in the meantime, when we're in the void, right? This is where you could really see yourself going down the well and being in this deep, dark abyss and not knowing where things are. And the gift is the not knowing. But we, and as humans, get so caught up in wanting to know everything. And so this inadequacy just comes in and wants us to know more. It's like we have this deep need to know more. And sometimes that can have us creating almost an addiction to wanting to know more, right? Like we just have to keep diving deeper into knowledge and trying to know as much as we can. And so we as humans are never going to truly know everything. We need each other, right? We need to have the ability to tap into the resources that we each bring, and one person can't do it alone. Hence why this really is a collective energy. And the more we tap in and bring our resources together, the more we can help and be of service. So there are more fears in here. There's fear of incompetence, right? Of not being good enough or thinking you know enough. Fear of insecurity, having this feeling of even being a fraud, right? That you want to get out there, but what if people realize you're not who you think you are, who you say you are? So that can come in. There's a lot of fear around control and manipulation. And this kind of comes back to even last week in the Gate 18. I talked about the child, inner wounded child, the things that kind of come up and how it really hits the mental body. This is more of the emotional body. And this happens really in that second 7-year cycle when you're between the ages of 7 and 14. So you still have some other emotional conditioning and deep wounds that can occur on this emotional level where you start to feel inadequate. That is a fear that we learn early on, and then others learn to basically project out, right? The easiest way for, in the old way of us doing things, we could pretend, right? Be the fraud. We could pretend we are not fearful, and we could project this fear of inadequacy upon others and use that to control and manipulate humanity. And in that way, we also created a lot of systems that were designed to basically hold us to a standard or a way of doing, even if it didn't serve us. And that's kind of where we are today. We're starting to see this. It's not serving everyone. The pillars must fall, right? The foundation has to be rebuilt, but we have to take down some of these systems. And we never questioned them before. And that's some of this lower expression as well. When we're afraid of not being good enough, we're not going to question anything. And we're actually just going to kind of follow along, if you will, and have our head in the sand, maybe have this indifference, and we just let our fears and all these fixed systems control us. And the more that we get awakened, and here's the cool part, there's so much really cool stuff, and we'll get into this in the higher expression, but the really cool stuff about the 48 is they can lead during these times of need, right? Like sometimes we almost need a crisis to happen, and then that propels the Gate 48s out there to lead into this way of seeing past the way it was done before, and we start to move in a different direction. So sometimes we really are having people use this power over us, over our systems. This is where lack and scarcity comes, and there's this deep rooted cycle, this loop that happens with wealth. So if you are worried that you'll never have enough money, or that the money's going to run out, and right now we're starting to have some financial impact, and we're starting to see how these systems are not working. And I've seen this for a while, and I still am not quite sure how it's going to play out. But our government constantly wants to run to our aid. And this is not an outside job. This is an inside job, right? We have to go inward and heal ourselves and our wounded emotional parts that are having us feel inadequate, as if we are not connected to that deep well. And when we're not connected to the deep well, right, or we think we're not, we're running out to grab anything in the external world to give us this false sense of security. We can't keep printing money and injecting it into the system and then have interest be put upon the taxpayers to pay offset interest on printed money, right? There are so many flaws. It's deeply rooted in this inadequacy and this fear that comes up. So the money piece, right? That's what we've tied our whole entire system. Everything's tied to money. And you're going to start to find that more and more as we go deeper into connection of source and each other and are resourced, we're going to start to find new technologies. And there's a lot of really cool energy here. And I mean energy in the way of science and starting to go beyond science and to see the unknown and to connect to source to get free energy. Things that we don't need to be tied to money anymore, right? And the more that we're in service, the more that the well is just even more plentiful. And it's for all of us to enjoy. So these logical complex systems, sometimes they're just so complex that humanity just believes it and conforms to it without questioning it, right? That's totally where we are. So they're designed by fear, and they've been keeping humans stuck in fear. And then when you look at the separation piece, right? We have all these borders and we have all these ways of saying that we're not one humanity, one race, one people, one connected mind of all these souls. It's like, let me just dive over or kind of jump over to the gate 21, because the sun's activating the 21, and this is the gate of control. So going back to this tie between wanting people to be, let's say, in fear and not connecting, and everybody separate, this gate 21 plays in. So the gate 21, it's meant to be for us to go inward, right? We can control ourselves. And really, we have a hard time even controlling our emotions, our mental capacity, our self. And so even when we know that that's really what the energy is meant for, we start to move out into wanting to control not just ourself, but even looking at controlling our tribe, our relationships, our family. Wanting to control goes even further out into these various, let's say, territories, where now it's not just about wanting to control yourself and control your relationship and your family, but potentially wanting to even move into your community and into different nations and all of humanity, right? We have borders galore. Is this serving us? Potentially, because of the virus, we were able to close down and people can isolate. But there's so many of us that are deeply isolated already, right? And certain people can come and go or not. And there isn't as much equality. And really, this is looking at the tribe. The 21 is a tribal energy. And it really does want to make sure there's enough resources for everyone. And it's the side of this money channel that says, hey, we have to make sure that we have enough for, let's say, the winter time. We've got to have enough food. And we have to make sure that we're holding on to these resources so that way all of our tribe can be cared for. But we have to be very careful because this energy can start to want to have more than it should, right? The toilet paper issue that we're seeing, people wanting to hoard and they want to stockpile and take more of their share. And really, we have to be conscious of this 21 and how it can tie in to the 48 and how this particular piece of the control can come right into the 48 and start to almost like take over and have our systems wanting to control the masses. And this is where we're going to see a lot of these systems break down. And they already are, and we're not even through it. There's more to come because we are reshaping humanity and we are moving from lack and scarcity. We're moving from all of this fear that we've been used to. And the solar plexus mutation that is happening is having all of humanity begin to lead from over where we do have emotions and where we begin to do what is right, not because we're afraid, and we want to help people and we want to connect and we want to just be human, right? We are so human because we have emotions. There is no emotion over here in the fear world. There is no emotion in the logical circuitry. So remember that. And as everything is shifting, and there are patterns that the 48 is seeking, it wants to make sense of the patterns of the past to be able to predict the future. And this is unprecedented. This is all going to be brand new. And we're going to start to see science having to shift and having to move in and tap in to what has never been tapped before. And the blessing that comes in this gate 48 is when you sit in the fear. Yeah, take a breath. You're in your body. And when you're in your body, you can connect to this deep wisdom. And the more that you sit in your body, the deeper the wisdom runs. And the more that you acknowledge what you do not know, the more the knowing comes to you, right? Which is so illogical, let's just say. We want to try and figure it out. We have to, right? But this energy has us going inward and connecting to source, to the source point, right? Everything you need to know, you will know when you need to know it. And you have to trust. And when you are so present and you are trusting, you are in this higher courage of wisdom and you are ready and you are going to be prepared, because all you have to do is tap in and trust what you need is right there. And sometimes that lower expression still wants to be afraid, and it wants to over prepare, and it wants to think it's not ready. And then it wants to beat itself up and undermine itself and be paralyzed in action, or feel stuck, or like it has stage fright. And even in our systems, this is where we see some committee work that happens, right? And the thing with committees, they're great. You're supposed to get the energy moving and get stuff done. But we tend to see, like with Congress and some of our committee work at the government level, stuff just sits. Stuff doesn't really move. It doesn't truly find a solution. And potentially that's because when we're not waiting for right timing and we're just trying to move it into action, it's going to fall flat and it's not going to work because there's no motor, right? The will, the solar plexus, the sacral, the root, they're all over here. You're not, this is seeking an energy that is not grounded in some form of sustainable energy. And so that's where sometimes this inaction that happens leads to feeling frustrated, because you feel like you have depth, but maybe you don't have the ability to express it or be able to experiment with it, because this is logical energy. It loves to experiment. So you can start to feel a little of that doubt that it's going to work. So let's talk about the really exciting part, the higher expression, right? The higher expression of courage. Depth is deep within you. And the more that you are, let's say, going back to the way that even the well runs, that depth's already within you. And it's so deeply rooted as the wisdom in your body, right? Because this is the spleen. This is our physical well-being and our physical body. And the thing about fear, and I've been playing with this, and this is what we all should be playing with as we are on our own or stuck at home. We tend to want to do, and I am stuck in that cycle. And I have been working on this. And I'm a projector, right? I'm not a doer. I'm here to wait. Wait for invitations, wait for the energy, wait for anything, right? Being is what we're here to honor within ourselves. And that comes in the moment when we're just sitting, being present. I am present with you right now. There is no fear. There is excitement, right? I actually have the 16. So as this gate 48 transiting, I'm getting this whole new channel, right? This is exciting for me. I have such enthusiasm, but there is no fear. I am not afraid to speak to you. I am not afraid that I am not good enough. I trust that everything I need to say will come through. And there's calm in my body. And that's what I'm listening to. That's what I'm trusting. And this is where we tap into source. And we don't have fear, ultimately. And because there's such a deep fear of being inadequate, it's like the more that we listen and get quiet and sit with the fear, right? Because even if I did feel afraid right now, the more I just sit with it and I feel it in my body, the more I'm acknowledging it and I'm having a relationship with it, the more it subsides. And the more I recognize, wow, I'm here in peace. There's calm. I feel joy, I feel love, I feel excitement. We can start to tap into what else is moving through us in the body. So just know that we're here to go inward And this is feminine energy. However, in the past, we've seen it as very masculine, almost explosive energy. And as humanity is shifting, everything in the world is going to change. You're going to see that it starts to go more inward. We have to go inward to where the source of the well is. We're not seeking it outside of ourselves. It's within. This is where you are deeply resourceful. So the higher expression of gate 48 is you are resourceful, and you yourself, but even when you become collaborative and of service to others, and you begin to collaborate with others, this well goes even deeper, right? This is like when we're thinking about masterminding, or when we're saying, even when Napoleon Hill talked about it in Think and Grow Rich, or the law of success, he knew the power when you had at least two minds or more together. It's not that you doubled your capacity. It's like it became more infinite. The possibilities, the ability to dream and see and create was so much more vast. The power of connecting with each other, this is what we need. This is how we get to that next level of realizing free energy and using it for all. And that humanity moves from being so money driven to being more service driven. So when you have this deep trust that all of the possibilities and solutions you're seeking and all the resources you need, they're already there, they're provided. And when you don't react or repress your fears, but you actually sit with this unknowing, you sit with the fears, the more the depth is shown to you. And all of this deep trust reinforces for you the inner security. And the more that you do this repetitively, right? Because logic likes repetition. Repetition is going to give you more and more of this security, and it is going to more and more have you feeling adequate, or more than adequate. So yes, you have this drive. When you're in this higher expression, you have a drive to study and to learn and to practice and to become masterful, because this is the channel of talent. And there is mastery that comes through this, but you have to continue to work towards it. And it doesn't mean you just keep doing the same thing over and over and you get really good at it. There's a level of connecting with others to also gather their resources and to ensure that what you are becoming masterful at is something that is going to continue to unify humanity, and that you can draw upon all of this different power, and all of this unexpressed potential has a place. You can tap into spirit to gain more practical resolutions. And this is the fine line in this channel. This is what we're going to see more and more as we move into this Aquarius age. There's a fine line between religion and science. And people have seen this for hundreds of years. They've known this. There's a fine line between what we're studying and seeing the possibility. But when we begin to open up to the depths of source, right, now you're going to start to see these resolutions, and you're just going to continue to ensure that this well stays fresh with new ideas and health and security for the collective, that we're working together. We're no longer having manipulation used over us and fear controlling us. And we're awakening, right? The beauty in having this virus come through is it is opening us up to see new possibilities and to see where we need to change these systems so that we can use all of this knowledge, have it come from more of a natural source, right? Free energy, whatever we can do to help remove the old fossil fuels and no longer deplete and harm the earth, that we're allowing pollution to go by the wayside, and we don't need to hang on to some of these old ways of doing things that are actually harming not only humanity, but Mother Earth and nature and the animals and everything else. When you're in this higher expression too, to go back to the wounded child, as parents, or at least as adults, even if you yourself are not a parent, it is so powerful when you begin to move into this energy and you heal the emotional wounds that you've carried around inadequacy. Because the more that you're healing those old wounds and those old patterns, you're actually transforming the way for future generations. And we've already been seeing that over, let's just say, the past generations, but even more so, the work that I do on myself, I'm not only healing my children who are already born, but their children that are not born, but I'm also going backward in time to heal my mom, my grandma. And I had some recent work done using biofield tuning and looking at my adrenals specifically, and just looking again at the body and recognizing already before I was born just how much was deeply embedded in my DNA. And as I worked to heal this, I was already helping my mom and my grandma and her and past generations, and helping my dad and helping my children and future generations. And I'm just one person already creating the ripple. And this is what we all do. This is why the healing must take place individually. And then it starts to move outward through the tribe and into the collective. And the more that we understand that this well runs really deep, but it's to serve others. So as you continue to expand your knowledge and you're tapping into all of these deep inner resources, and even if you once were afraid of the void, but you start to realize when you go into it, there's so much light down there. There are so much, there's a daringness for you to even leap down there, to go into it, right? And to explore. But all of this awareness comes through, and it helps you to be even more resourceful and impactful and masterful and helping everyone. Help yourself to help others. And that's actually where you're going to start to find that as we move further and further away from our dependency on money, you're going to be able to be of service. And that is where our collaboration and our resources multiply. Because as we work together, right, when we mastermind, we're greater together. And that's really important. So looking here at the gate 16, the cool part of this other side of the channel of talent, this enthusiasm, the body doesn't know the difference between enthusiasm and fear, right? There is, in our mind, it doesn't really know that if you're about to walk out in front of 100 people, if what you're feeling in your stomach, if it's butterflies, are those butterflies because you're afraid, because you're nervous, or because you're excited? I want you to tap into this enthusiasm and this excitement. When you feel the fear, I want you to recognize the other side to this particular inadequacy is this excitement, that you can begin to be excited to leap into the void, right? Sure, you might think, oh my gosh, I'm not doing that, I'm afraid. But if you tell yourself you're excited, again, the brain, the body, it doesn't know the difference. And so you can start to rewire your old pattern of thinking you're afraid into becoming more excited. There's a lot of versatility in this gate 16. So being excited, knowing that you're versatile, that you can go in so many different directions. And yes, you're here to be masterful. The really cool part, especially because I have this gate 16, is knowing that you don't have to be masterful at just one thing, which is really exciting for me because I don't necessarily like the logical aspect all the time of wanting to just do the same thing over and over, and that whole repetition. Like, more of my energy comes on the sensing side, which is on the other side, which is all about experiences and not necessarily experimenting over and over and over. So just recognize that if you need some versatility, if there's a part of you that you've just been in this depth of doing the same thing over and over and over, go over to the other side, get some excitement to be versatile and do something different. So tap into this because this is really fun, right? And there is meant to be fun when you're looking even in this channel. Fun in the sense that you're here to do greater things. And when you can wait for the right timing, and when you can trust that what you need to know as you need to know it will come to you, it does. Right? So if you're really freaking out that you're not ready, the 16 is always ready to leap, even when it potentially is not, right? So there's a lot of leaping before potentially you're ready, just getting out there. Because here's the thing, you already know so much. You probably have all kinds of certificates or degrees, or you've taken every different program and class and you've learned everything. The world needs you. It needs your wisdom now. Like, let your wisdom out. Please go be excited and enthusiastic and get that shit out into the world, okay? Because you have really big things the world needs right now. And especially as we're transiting into all kinds of changes over the next decade that we don't even know exactly what it's going to look like, but it's coming. It's here. So you remember that you have a power to unify the collective, and it starts from within. So go with that. Okay. Here's some affirmations that you can tell yourself. I am adequate. I am good enough. I am more than enough. I know enough. Through right timing, my well runs deep and sustainably. I have all that I need. I trust I am resourced by the infinite well of source. I trust in the moment and I am prepared as opportunities arise. Source supplies me with unlimited prosperity where I need it and when I need it to be of service. I allow my emotional feelings of inadequacy to heal. I am capable of more than I realize. When I embrace the unknown, it becomes known. Deep wisdom is rooted within my body. It wisely guides me to sit with my fears. Here are the reflection questions that you can use through April 4th as this gate 48 continues to transit. When in the void, where do your fears run deep? Where are you holding back your knowledge for fear of not knowing enough? What knowledge do you fear you lack? What emotional conditioning from childhood needs healing right now? What would it take for you to trust the well runs deep within you? What patterns of needing to be overly prepared control you? How can you allow yourself to master the talent you seek to create? Where do you worry your finances are inadequate? Where can you use enthusiasm to overpower the fear of inadequacy so you can take action more quickly and more often? I am grateful for you. Thank you for being you. Thank you for doing your healing work at this time on the planet. It is needed more than ever. And I want you to know that you are truly adequate. You are more than adequate. You are more than enough. You are filled with so much wisdom. And I am excited for the moment that you decide to release it and to share it into the world because it's needed more than ever. Sending you big love. Mwah. Stay healthy, stay safe, curious, and courageous. And I will see you next week. Bye for now.